Kirby Smart knew pretty early on that in terms of recruiting, Georgia was going to have to get creative due to the COVID-19 outbreak. With prospects not able to visit campus, Smart knew that eventually prospects and players were going to get sick of hearing from coaches literally all the time. This is what he had to say back in March on the prospect of calling kids over and over and over again, so much to the point that it actually starts to hurt your chances of landing a prospect.
For us, it's really been, FaceTime, communication, talking to family members. We're checking on the well-being of everybody we recruit. We're not making it about selling Georgia as much as it is, hey, what's going on in your community now? How is your high school dealing with this? How are your grandparents? How are your parents doing? And making it personal and trying to talk to them. I know these kids are getting bombarded because, recruiting is a competitive market. And as you can imagine, they're getting a lot of calls because a lot of college coaches don't have anything going on right now, and they're calling on these kids a lot.
Georgia has landed 4 commitments since the start of the COVID-19 outbreak, with all of them being ranked among the top 200 prospects in the country. Georgia clearly doesn't have a problem adapting to this new scenario, where prospects aren't allowed to visit campuses at least until May 31st, and probably even farther along than that. And this week, we saw Georgia get creative once again with how it's going about recruiting players. Trayvon Walker, Monty Rice, Mikhail Sherman, and Malik Herring all tweeted out support towards Corey Foreman and Mason Smith, 2 of the top prospects in the country, as both are 5-star defensive linemen, something Georgia actually has a pretty big need for in this class. We also saw Eric Stokes tweet out a message of support for Nyland Green. Green is a top 100 overall player and from the same hometown that Stokes is. And it wasn't just current players that were tweeting out support. A number of recruits tweeted out some pretty cool graphics to Amarius Mims, a 5-star offensive lineman, Shmuel Munden, a 5-star linebacker, and Chaz Chambliss, a 4-star linebacker, showing off why they need to come and commit to Georgia. As much as we like to praise coaches for their recruiting effort, players also play a very significant role in getting prospects to commit to schools. Where you have players like Kendall Milton and Mikhail Sherman, who were behind-the-scenes leaders for Georgia's 2020 class, and Nolan Smith the same for the 2019 class. When these prospects actually get on the campus, they're hosted by current players. And these current players sort of give them the ins and outs that the coaches don't always necessarily give them. It's just as important to have your players be as good, if not better, recruiters than your coaching staff is. And with the NCAA loosening up recruiting restrictions and now allowing players to join coaches on recruiting calls, it's only going to become more important that you have players who are able to sell and recruit your program going forward. While Georgia can point to the likes of Andrew Thomas, Isaiah Wilson, Roquan Smith, Nick Chubb, it's also very important that they used players like Richard LeCount, Trayvon Walker, and a host of other talented players to explain to prospects and recruits why Georgia is the best place for their future. At the moment, Georgia doesn't have a top 10 recruiting class, but because of the work that's being put in now by the coaches, players, and commitments, it's probably going to end up having one when the 2021 cycle comes to an end. It'll probably be in the top 5, and it might even be top 2, and it might not even be number 2. It's because of the work that's being put in by the guys like Walker, commits like Brock Vandegrift, head coach Kirby Smart, and the entire Georgia infrastructure. Because Georgia once again has shown that even in the weirdest scenarios, it's still one of the best recruiting programs in the country. For Dog Nation, I'm Connor Riley.
For more Dog Nation videos, check out youtube.com/DogNation.